I went to Sedona like a month ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you live, I'm assuming, around the strip over here.
I live like Henderson. Yeah, 30
Okay.
minutes.
You like it out here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Can't
it's
can't blame you,
fire.
especially if you're a sports guy. Like, yeah, can't go wrong with living here.
Yeah, let's do it. Welcome back to the show, guys. I'm your host, as always, Sean Kelly. Got with me a sports card investor and expert, Eric Michael. How's it going?
It's going well, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. You're the first guest, I think, from Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers, small world, man, all the way back in New
Yeah.
Jersey. But yeah,
Did you make it all the way through?
it's a long story, but I failed out at the end, at the very, very end, because I got into entrepreneurship and just didn't have the time and failed a bunch of classes. Then I ended up graduating 3 years later. I took
Oh,
one
okay.
more class 3 years later to finally graduate.
Nice.
So I did eventually.
Wow. Not many people in entrepreneurship make it through college.
No, not many. Like, I got into entrepreneurship at the very, very end. So like I realized I didn't want to work a job. So I was like, okay, let's get into like Shopify, drop shipping, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Failed me out, but I took the one class I needed to graduate
Nice.
a few years later.
So is that when you got into sports cards, or was that later?
No, so the way I got into sports cards, so it's a funny story. So my senior year of high school, so people, parents buy their kids cars, people get cars, and there were two high schools in my town. I'm from a town called Wayne, New Jersey. There was the middle class side of town, which is where I'm from, and there was the richer side of town. It was called the Wayne Hills, the other side of town, the high school. And I heard about someone who bought his own car, 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 not card, car, with $30,000. And I was like, who, our age, we're 17, could have $30,000? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on? His name was Dylan. And I had a friend who was friends with him. So I was like, yo, can you like hook me up? I want to see how he's making money. And this was back in 2015. And I was like, I got in touch with him. I was like, dude, like, what's going on? Like, how do you have 30 grand to buy a car? And he's like, I buy and sell sports cards, CARDS cards. And I was like, no, you don't. What? The things you put in like your bicycle wheels? He was like, yeah, no, I do. I was
Yeah.
like, no way you could actually make money doing this stuff. And long story short, I got hooked. I started harassing him. I was like, man, like, I'm a huge sports fan. You got to teach me how to start making money doing this stuff. He showed me. And at this time I was delivering pizza, and I saved up about $4,000 from delivering pizza. And I finally bought my first sports card. It was for you sports nerds out there, he was a New York Mets prospect at the time. His name was Steven Matz. He was a pitcher for the New York Mets. And I bought his card for $500. I got it graded. I sold it about 10 days later on eBay for $888. A lot of money at the time, a few $100s for someone that was 17, but it was a huge just mindset shift from trading your time for money. And here I am all of a sudden. Now I just clicked a few buttons on a computer, bought a card, didn't do much with it, got it sold, and I made $388. And then I was just absolutely hooked. After that. And
Wow.
Dylan is, he changed my life.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
I don't even know who that pitcher is.
Yeah, he was a big prospect for the Mets, and then injuries plagued him.
Yeah.
He's still in the league, or he may have retired. His name's Steven Matz, but back in the day, he was a big prospect.
So do you think you can make an actual living off sports cards?
Yeah, I have a friend that went to St. John's University, and he got basically straight A's. He was going to go into med school. He was flipping sports cards just like me through college, and he decided not to go to med school because he was making so much money from sports cards.
Damn.
So yeah, I mean, I know people that make $1 million+ a year in profit just from flipping sports cards.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's very, very possible.
So what's like the strategy you see from the top people making money,
Oh boy.
including yourself?
So there's two ways to make money. So like, I teach people how to buy and sell sports cards, and my whole thing is teaching people how to make a predictable side income, an extra $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. And the easiest way to do that is doing something called grading. So grading a sports card is essentially what it is. You buy a card, you send it to a grading company. If the company deems it's a 10, you can make money. You could buy a card for $100, spend about $20, $30, get it graded. A few weeks later, you could have it back. If it's graded a 10, you could triple your money. It's not that scalable, but you could easily make an extra $2,000 to $3,000 a month doing that. And that's what I teach because it's realistic, it's sustainable, it's predictable, it's fun.
Yeah.
If you want to start making big bucks, you have to start to go into the big cards. So like, I'm not gonna spitball names here, but like, for example, I have a friend that about 4 years ago, before the pandemic, so sports cards got massive during the pandemic, as I'm sure you know. And he bought, before the pandemic, what I think is the most valuable sports card in the world. So it's a 2003 exquisite like logo man, like the one of one signed by Michael Jordan and LeBron James. He purchased the card for $1 million, like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that.
Hmm.
And now that card's like, I mean, at least 12 to 15 million at least. So
Jeez.
you have to start to play into those bigger cards. Like, I saw the other day on Facebook, someone posted like the Brock Purdy 101 National Treasures for like, I'm assuming the guy probably purchased it for like $100,000, and he'll probably go to flip it for like 150, 200 grand. So like, if you want to make big bucks, you have to buy big cards.
Wow.
But that's kind of how it goes.
So you buy these bigger cards, and you like to buy them raw, right? Pre-graded.
The big cards, you can't. Any big card you're gonna buy, you're probably not gonna find in great condition if it's raw.
Oh, okay.
So there's right, you have the whole grading aspect of things, and the way I do sports cards mostly is this is the way sports cards goes. So like, what you can do is you can buy a card in the off season. So let's take right now, right? Right now we're speaking. It's in September. So like right now, what's hot is football, basketball. Basketball's around the corner. What are people not buying right now? People aren't buying baseball. Baseball's kind of in the crapper.
Yeah.
It'll shoot up a little bit with some guys who do well in the playoffs, but for the most part, baseball's in the crapper. There's a lot of really good prospects that are really cheap right now, like just to spit some guys out there, like Marcelo Meyer, who's a prospect for the Boston Red Sox. And if you do it correctly, what you can do is you can buy one of these prospects like Marcelo Meyer for really cheap right now and wait a few months till like January, March, and these prospects will see a big increase or bump in value if guys think they're going to be called up to the majors that following spring. So like what I'll do a lot of the time is like I'll buy like a $5,000 card of Marcelo Meyer right now just because I know it's cheap, and I'll sit on it, wait till January, February. Hype will start to build in January, February, March. People are going to think he could possibly be the starting shortstop for the Red Sox, and I'll go and flip that card for anywhere between like $8,000, $10,000, $12,000.
Wow.
Depends how the market reacts, but that's kind of how to do sports cards on like a bigger playing field. Just like kind of timing the market, buying low, selling high. When everyone zigs, you zag type of thing.
Interesting. So you're buying in the off season, and then you're also buying people you think will get to the next level.
Yes. Yeah. So like if you're doing things correctly, like for baseball, like the way sports cards works, it's backed by hype and demand. Let me give you a great example. So like I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, but so like Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, right? Most guys watching this probably know who they are.
Yeah.
So most people would say that Trevor Lawrence has accomplished a lot more, right? He has a much better passer rating, has thrown for more touchdowns, he's actually won a playoff game. And Justin Fields, he makes a lot of great plays, but he hasn't shown an ability to throw from the pocket. And just he hasn't proven that much. He's talented, but so that's the point. But so these guys, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, leading up to the NFL season this year, were selling for about the same, which it doesn't make much sense because Trevor Lawrence has accomplished a lot more.
Right.
But people get excited with the hype that Justin Fields provides. One, because he's in a big market in Chicago, right? Just there's more Bears fans, so people are going to dump money into Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And two, he's just an exciting player. So like, I personally don't think Justin Fields will be a successful NFL quarterback. But that's just my take. You never know. But like, if you're doing it right, you got to ask yourself, okay, back in February and March, while football's down, what player is going to receive a lot of hype and demand? Okay, you could realistically say like Justin Fields made a lot of great plays. He's really cheap because football is cheap in February and March. He's a big market. He's in Chicago, and they got a little bit lucky, Justin Fields investors, because I was a Justin Fields investor. I sold everything before the season just because they signed DJ Moore. They got some offensive line help, but yeah. So you just have to play into like the volatility and the hype of the market. Like, ask yourself like this coming season, like a week or two before the season, who's gonna have a lot of excitement? Whoever that is, that player will increase a lot in value. And these are a lot of the times like significant returns. Like I flipped like a Justin Fields, like it was called a Gold XRC. I paid about $5,000, and I sold it about 3 months later for $9,000.
Wow.
So like, and the card just sat on my desk, honestly. So like, if you do it right, you can make these massive returns.
That's awesome. What's the most you've seen a sports card sell for?
Just the most I've ever seen a card sell for.
Yeah.
So it was the record sale. I think it was the most expensive sports card ever sold. It was a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. It sold for about $12 million something.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And what's crazy about that card, so like a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle, that is like the holy grail of sports cards, because that was like, it's Mickey Mantle. 1952 was the first year Topps was around. So like that card is like the holy grail of sports cards. And what's crazy about that card is the one that sold for $12 million was graded in SGC 9.5. So it's like a specific grading company. But there's actually two out there that are PSA 10s.
Wow.
One of them, I believe, is owned by a lawyer in New York, and the other is owned by the owner of the Colorado Rockies.
Damn.
And that card auctioned would sell for more than what that last Mickey Mantle did, probably hovering around 20 million, maybe 18 to
Holy
20 million,
crap.
if I had to guess.
That's crazy.
So yeah, that's the biggest sports card I've ever seen sold. Like, just,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it, but like I heard about it.
What about you personally? What's the most expensive card you've sold or own?
The most expensive card I've ever sold was, this is actually a interesting little flip. So last 2 years ago at the National Card Show in Atlantic City, I got a text message from a friend saying that this guy was looking to sell this card of Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert was extremely hot at the time. This was like late July of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And I met up with this guy in the hotel lobby of the Tropicana in Atlantic City. We did like a cash and trade deal. And long story short, I gave him about $75,000 for the card through a few cards. About half of it was cash. I took that same card and I flipped it the next day at the card show for 110 grand in cash.
Damn.
So yeah, that's the biggest card I've ever
All
sold.
cash?
All cash. Yep.
So people are pulling up to these card shows with just briefcases of
Yeah,
cash?
big time. Yeah.
That's scary, man.
Yeah,
How'd
it
you
is.
fly home with that?
Well, I went to the bank in Atlantic City. I found a Chase Bank in the area, and I deposited the cash. Well, I took about half of the cash and spent it at the card show. And the other half, I just went to the bank and deposited.
Wow. Have you ever met Gary Vee at these card shows?
I have. It was funny. Back in 2020, the National Card Show in Chicago, I was thinking about starting the coaching program, the same one that I do today, and I was debating whether or not to do it. And Gary Vee was at this card show, and he was getting bombarded by all these people.
Yeah.
And I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, man, I think I'm gonna start a program to teach people how to do this." And he looked at me dead in the eye and he's like, "Kid, that's a great idea."
Wow.
And I was like, "Okay, he must think it's a good idea if he actually gave me the attention to look at me in the eye." So that's kind of one of my sparks for starting to teach people how to, make money doing this stuff.
Nice. So how much would you say the average person would need to get started if they want to make 1 to 3K a month, like you said earlier?
1 to 3K.
That's all they need?
Yeah, like you could start with $500, flip a card, sell for $800, get it graded, sell for $800, take that $800, roll it over. I mean, I started with $4,000. That's what I saved up from delivering pizza back in the day. But like,
Yeah.
the more money you have, the more money you're gonna make. But I mean, you could start with a few $100s. Right?
Wow.
That's all you need to buy a card and get it graded.
That's crazy. And you're doing this full time? Like this is your main income?
Yep, that and the teaching people how to do it.
Nice. How many people are you teaching?
We've taught about up to this point probably around 600.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's word's gotten around that like we actually like do a decent job helping people. Like part of the problem with like the coaching space is like a lot of people don't practice what they preach and they give these big promises and don't deliver on them. But like we go out there and tell people like, hey, like this is a realistic side income. You're gonna make an extra few grand a month. Is this something you want to do? People want to do it, right? They just want that extra few grand a month on top of their 9-to-5 jobs, and they love it. It doesn't require any fancy technology, no websites, no funnels, no ads.
Yeah.
All you need is your phone and an internet connection, really.
Nice. What cards do you see potential in? Like I know there's Star Wars cards, there's Pokemon, there's all these types of cards. Like, do you stick with just sports?
I stick with just sports because it's the easiest to make money with.
Okay.
So like Pokemon, for example. So like Pokemon, the most sought after cards are the original set from 1999.
Yeah.
That's when Pokemon first started. And that's it. Like that's the original set. It ends right there. That is the original Pokemon cards. But with sports cards, there are original cards being printed every single year because there's rookies, right? Like
Yeah.
who was a rookie this year? Like Kenny Pickett cards where his good cards came out in early 2023 and like those are his original cards, and the next year there's going to be original cards, and the next year there's original cards being printed every single year. So like there's just a lot more money in it and a lot more opportunity. It's easier, honestly, to make money. And I like sports too.
Right.
I don't like Pokemon as much. So
Yeah. Do you stick with mainly rookie cards? Because I know some people buy second year, some people buy certain variants.
Yeah, it's mostly rookie, almost all rookie.
Yeah.
Like 95% of it, I would say. It's just they like if you're gonna buy a card, get it graded and sell it. Like those cards can have the biggest margins, the most liquidity. It's 95%.
Yeah. Does it still take months to get the grades back? Because when I used to send stuff to PSA, it took like 6 months.
Yeah, PSA is wonky. Like it depends. The way it works is like the more you spend, the more money it costs to get a card graded, the faster you're gonna get it back. So
Right.
like, I'd say for me personally, the average card I buy is probably $3,000. So I'm okay with spending more money to get it graded. So I'll spend $150 to get it graded.
Wow.
Probably takes about 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get back. But like
Yeah.
if you're buying a lower end card that might be $100, it doesn't make much sense to spend $75 to get it graded, so or $150 to get it graded. So you're gonna probably spend the lowest service, which right now is about $19.
Yeah.
It'll take 5 to 6 weeks. It depends. It could be 8 weeks. It could be 4 weeks.
Okay, so it's gotten a little better.
It's from the pandemic. It's gotten way better.
That's when I
Yeah,
submitted
yeah.
mine. Took at least 6 months.
Yeah, like it was crazy because I mean, during the pandemic, like sports cars just took off like no one would imagine.
Yeah,
And
blasted
like
off.
they were just hammered.
You couldn't lose.
Yeah, you literally couldn't lose. It was crazy. Like just everything. It seemed like everything you touched turned to
Yeah.
gold.
It felt like a crypto bull run.
Yeah, it did. It did, and it's funny because that's one of the most common questions I get. Like people like comment on my Facebook ads and stuff like, "Oh, the sports card market has crashed," and it's definitely down since the pandemic. But like, so before the pandemic, just to kind of give like an example, like a LeBron James Topps Chrome PSA 10 rookie card was about $2,000 before the pandemic.
Yeah.
At the height of the pandemic, that same card was about 30,000. So it really went up a lot. But it's come down since the pandemic. But that same card is about 7 to 8 grand. The sports card market has about 3 to 4 times from before to after the pandemic. So,
Wow.
but yeah, so
Yeah, it's all relative, right? Everything crashed from the pandemic. Real estate.
yeah,
stocks,
all the alternative
crypto.
assets, right? What goes up must come down. It
Yeah.
has to, right?
It was too good to be true, man.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, I was literally buying any card on eBay and it would go up like
Yeah.
the next week.
Yeah, that's oh my god, yeah.
Those were the days.
It was a wild time. Like I had all these cards that like the pandemic started in like what was it, like March of 2020. So like I had all these cards I was sitting on, all these baseball cards I bought like in November and December, and I was gonna wait till before the season in March to sell them. And like I'd probably make on average about a 50% return holding cards for an extended like a few months. But like all of a sudden the pandemic started, just boom, these cards like 3 to 4 times, and I
Yeah.
just cashed out huge. But yeah, everything was just going up. It
Yeah.
was nuts.
Have you ever bought a fake card or been scammed or anything?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, yes. The unfortunate thing about sports cards is it is an easy place to scam people. So like, yeah, like I bought a fake card before, but like when you buy a fake card and you buy it on eBay, you're protected. So like
Right.
I bought a card, I've got my money back.
How'd you know it was fake?
Um, so I bought a card of Michael Jordan. It was like a 1986 Fleer, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And what somebody did is, I wish I had like an example, but I don't. Is they took the real card of Michael Jordan. It was graded like an 8 or something. The card was probably worth like $5,000.
Yeah.
And they like made a little slit in the case, and they took the real one out and put a fake one in that looked good. So now it's in the case and it looks real, like it looks like a real card.
Yeah.
And they took the real one and they submitted it to PSA again. So now they have another PSA 8. So they just, do you see
Wow.
that? So they just doubled their money.
That's crazy.
So I had the fake one, and I looked at the card, and I was like, "This don't look right. This
Yeah.
looks a little bit off." I asked a friend; he confirmed it was fake, and eBay gave me my money back. But
Jeez.
yeah, there's a lot of just like any business, right? Like there's a lot of rug pulls, scams.
Yeah.
But if you know how to navigate your way through it, you can make a lot of money.
I probably got scammed too. I was buying so many cards that I wasn't even checking if I got them all. You know what I mean? I was just buying so many. every
Yeah,
day.
that will happen.
Yeah. And I took a big L. I bought a lot of Zion.
Yep. So did I.
Yeah.
That was Zion. I made money, sold it. He went down. I bought more Zion, and then it went down. And then I lost. So it kind
If
of.
he ever plays again, it might go up.
Yeah. I have a bunch of Zion with me. I bought a bunch back in not with me, but back in Arizona.
Yeah.
I bought a bunch in like February and March. Hoping he would look healthy and his value would go back up. It's went up a little bit, but not as much as I expected.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Why didn't you get into breaking at all?
Uh,
Because people are killing it with that, right? Card
Yeah.
breaks.
I mean, breaking it's a great thing, and it gets a lot of people into the hobby. But I mean, there's a few reasons. I was doing well with flipping the sports cards, and I like to control my own money. So when you
Right.
break, right, you're getting product from like Panini and Topps, and you're kind of at the mercy of them. How many boxes and cases they'll give you. So I was never that into it, and I started the coaching program. And the reality of breaking is, I don't have anyone against any breakers, but when you break a box of cards, it's kind of like, we're in a casino right now, like going to a slot machine, pulling the slot machine. Like
Right.
you can get lucky once, sure, maybe, but over the long run, you're gonna lose a lot of money.
I've never made money opening cards.
Never, right?
Never.
Because like there's a reason these companies like Panini and Topps make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's at the expense of the consumer. So I said to myself, if I'm gonna brand myself and really go all out on a business, I'd rather help people make money
Right.
than maybe help people have fun but losing money. So that's kind of my motivation for getting into coaching and teaching people how to actually make a sustainable siding.
Yeah, that's respectable, man. I've seen people spend 6, maybe even 7 figures on just buying cases and boxes of cards, trying to chase that one of one,
Yeah,
and they
dude,
just get wrecked.
it's a losing game, dude. And the worst part about it is like, I mean, a lot of people that come into my program, they come from the world of breaking. They'll come to me and say, "Hey, man, like I'm down like $30,000. Like, can you help me make money?" And then they end up coming into the program and learning how to actually make money. But yeah, so like yeah, breaking it's just right. It's a slot machine. You're gonna lose money in the long run
Yeah.
unless you're the luckiest person in the world. So that's just how it goes.
Yeah, same with owning a sports card shop because the value of these cards, they're just changing so quickly. You could be stuck with so much inventory, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why sports card shops do a lot of breaking because it's like a sustainable thing. Like there's no like they take these boxes and like for example they'll get a box from Panini for like $1,000 and they'll break it online through through 10 to 15 different people paying them and they'll end up doubling their money with the box.
Right.
Which is another reason why breaking is such a not profitable thing because you're really paying strong to get into these boxes. And like even if you just bought the box what it's worth, the whole thing you would lose money.
Yeah.
Now you're essentially even though you're only getting a smaller bit of it, you're paying like essentially double. So like it's a losing game. I mean, it's fun. Like it drives the hobby. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against it. Like the cards I buy and make money on come out of these boxes,
Right.
right? So like, but in the long run, you'll get crushed.
Yeah. I noticed like the older heads kind of hate it too.
Yep, they do.
There's like that divide with like the new social media kids.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I see a lot of that too. When there's a lot of like original collectors that don't like all like the promoting and all the social media and all the
Yeah.
stuff that's coming around sports cards because like they just want like they're just old
Yeah.
grubby people.
I know this one dude, I think his username is Shine150 or something.
I've heard of him. I think he buys a lot of big cards.
Dude,
Yeah.
he makes a lot of money off sports cards.
Yeah.
But he buys like, he's like you, but like on another level because like he'll buy like the one-on-ones.
Yeah,
And then flip those.
that's a crazy game to play. I like to play in the ballpark of like buying cards that are 5 to 10 grand.
Yeah.
I've played in the ballpark of buying cards that are like 25, 50, 100 grand, but like they're just too hard to move.
Too risky, right?
Yeah, not even too risky. They're not as liquid.
Right.
Like selling a card for 10 grand is a lot of money, but a lot of people have 10 grand.
yeah.
100 grand, different ballgame.
Right.
Like it's very hard to move. A lot of the times when you're ready to sell a card, you can't sell it. But like a $10,000 card, I have a bunch of them. I can go on Facebook, make a post, and I'll be flooded with offers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, for cards that are worth
Wow.
5, 10, 15 grand. But 100 grand, 50 grand, it's a whole different ballgame.
So where do you sell yours mainly? On Facebook?
Yeah, the main places I buy are Facebook. So when I'm buying cards to get graded, they mostly come from eBay.
Yeah.
When I'm buying cards to hold, like these higher end cards that are already graded, mostly from Facebook or card shows when I get to go once in a while. And then when I selling is 95% through Facebook. That's just
Yeah.
where I've done the best. I know a lot of people on Facebook. I have a lot of connections at this point. Sometimes I'll just hit people up on my phone.
Right.
But if you have there's no right or wrong. Like Instagram is great too. I prefer social media just because there's no fees. You could build connections.
Yeah.
So
Because eBay takes what, like 3% or something?
13.
13?
13%. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
They're printing money then. No
Yeah,
wonder
no,
they
they-
like sports cards.
They're
so-
the real winners, dude. They're the real winners. They make a crap ton of money.
Yeah. Because I was wondering why they started going, like, they started marketing sports cards a lot. I don't know if you noticed
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
they
I
would,
mean-
like, sponsor conferences.
I mean, dude, it's smart. Like,
Yeah.
they see where it's going. And, like, Fanatics, I'm sure you've heard of it, how they're taking over in, like,
Yeah.
2026. Like, I mean, they're smart. They make a crap ton of money from sports cards, eBay. So that's why they're promoting it so hard.
Yeah. Are you excited about the Fanatics takeover or worried?
No, I'm excited. Like, I mean, I don't know what's in store, obviously, but the owner, Michael Rubin, I mean, I know knows a lot about sports cards. He knows a lot about business. So whatever decisions he makes is going to be best for the hobby and to make money. So
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do. He hasn't probably released any of it. He may not even thought of it himself yet.
Yeah.
But whatever he does, like, I mean, I trust him. Right? The dude's a multi-billionaire for a
I
reason,
feel
so-
that. And the thing I like about Ruben is even though he's super rich and stuff, successful, he's still in the culture.
Yeah.
Like he still hangs out with
Exactly. And so kind of a similar situation to that. So you know who Nat Turner is?
Yeah.
So he bought PSA. I forget when he bought them. It was like a few years ago.
During the
But-
pandemic, right? I remember.
Yeah. But he's a guy who's been in the hobby, knows the ins and outs, has bought a lot of sports cards. And part of the reason PSA blew up is because he's the owner.
For sure.
And the decisions he's made has the collector in mind. Right? He's come from the hobby.
Yeah.
As to like something like Beckett, I forget who the owner is, but he's not really involved in the hobby. He looks at it more like just like a business, like an X's and O's, just numbers type of
P&L,
thing.
yeah.
So like Beckett's kind of taking a step back, and PSA's taking 10 steps forward
Nice.
because Nat Turner understands what drives the hobby, getting cards back quicker, really valuing the PSA 10. He's made it like a little bit harder to get that PSA 10 over the
Mm.
years. So yeah, I mean that's kind of like a similar situation. Like someone who has a lot of money, been in the hobby for a long time, is now taking a big, like I guess, part in the hobby.
Yeah.
In a sense, yeah.
Is it true they're trying to switch to like AI ratings? Like they're gonna have a computer look at the cards now instead of human?
You know what? That's a common question I get, but I don't think it'll ever happen because human error is a big part of grading. So like if you had in something like some sort of AI robot that was grading these cards,
Yeah.
people would figure out or have some sort of software or something where they'd be able to look at a card on eBay and just know what it's going to get graded before it even gets graded,
Mm.
which diminishes the whole value of cards, right? That would
Right.
screw up the whole hobby. Human error is what makes grading great. Sometimes you can send in a card that you're sure is going to get a 10, grades a 9. Sometimes you send in a
That's the
card,
worst feeling.
yeah, and vice versa, right? You'll send in a card that like, it has this blemish and it gets a 10,
Right, right.
right? So if they ever did that, people are smart enough to come out with softwares that kind of mimic whatever AI they're using. And then you would know if the card's going to grade a 10 or a 9 before buying it.
Mm.
And then it's
That's
great.
true.
Grading goes out the window.
Yeah, you could just upload an image and it would give you a grade, right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I don't think they'll ever do it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
In terms of like just in general, what are you feeling about moving forward? Like, do you want to go more on the coaching side or more on the investing side?
Coaching. I like helping people, but as the coaching, like kind of the way, this is a funny story. So kind of the way like sports cards went for me is like I was flipping cards for like a few $100s, just really pumping them out as my coaching program has gotten bigger. The cards I bought has got bigger. So like I'll still spend 50 grand in a month on cards,
Yeah.
but now it's just I'm only buying 8 cards instead of 80
Right.
as before. So like the money I'm investing in sports cards is just getting bigger and bigger. I'm just buying less cards, but cards that are bigger. And kind of what helped me out a lot. So this will be a shock to a lot of your audience. So what's helped me out a lot in sports cards. So like as I was someone back in 2020 when me and my buddy John Suarez started the coaching program. I just thought I was teaching people how to make money with sports cards. And as soon as you start a business running ads and funnels and websites and hiring people, you realize, oh my God, teaching people how to make money with sports cards is easy. Like I have to post content, market, make database decisions, hire
Yeah.
a sales team, CRM, all this crazy stuff. So I really became like a system process driven person. And I had a bunch of VAs. What a VA is a virtual assistant for you guys out there who don't know. They're essentially overseas workers. You could pay them $3, $4, $5 an hour, which is great. It's above minimum wage in their country. And they'll work for you and kind of do whatever you want. And I had a bunch of VAs on my team. I still do, posting content and doing all this random stuff. And as my coaching program got bigger and bigger and bigger, I was like, damn, I don't have as much time to buy sports cards. So then I had the great idea one day of, well, maybe one of these virtual assistants could find these cards for me.
Yeah.
So I took one of the virtual assistants. I got on a 2-hour Zoom with him. I trained him. I had him watch my program. And I was like, here's a spreadsheet. You're gonna work for 3 hours a day. You're gonna find cards for me to get graded. And then we'll see what happens. And this guy it was amazing. Like I was just waking up every morning or going on this spreadsheet at the end of the day. And instead of me putting in a few hours to find cards, this VA did it all for me. And I'd pay him like, 15, $20 a day. And I was just buying tons of cards. And I still do it to this day.
Nice.
So that's something we do in our coaching program. We have like a recruiting agency over in the Philippines
Yeah.
that trains these VAs how to find sports cards and our processes and what to look for in a card and all that stuff. So a lot of our students actually don't put a lot of time into finding these cards because that's one of the most timely things in sports
Yeah.
cards. So we have virtual assistants that do it,
That's
that
smart.
find the cards for us, and it's an amazing process.
Yeah, it saves a ton of time. Super smart. Eric, it's been fun, man. Anything you want to close off with or promote?
Not really, man. I mean, just like if you guys have any questions about sports cards, you can hit me up on Instagram at Eric Michael MLP. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys have about sports cards. But yeah, that's really it. I just wanted to come on here and provide you guys as much value as possible with the sports card market.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, man. I think it's cool to see new investment vehicles.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Nice.